Welcome back to Comic Wars. Tonight is going to be the conclusion of round one. Well, rather, the final match of round one. While we prepare for round two, which will be happening later on Friday night. Tonight, though, our conclusion for round one is actually going to be between two shapeshifters. First up, we have Pennywise the Clown from the Stephen King universe versus Alex Mercer from Activision's Prototype universe. Tonight is going to be all about who is the superior shapeshifter. On top of that, who is more intelligent, who's more experienced. There's going to be a lot to break down with this, and the numbers are going to matter greatly on this one. All right, so let's strap in and let's get ready for our final match. So remember, the victor of each match is announced during the outcome at the end of the show. So without further ado, let's get into the overview. As usual, if we had a guest, this is where we would introduce them. This is where we'd have a little bit of conversation and go and get their guesses just to see, what the current thoughts are on the match. After that, we would get into the background details. This is going to be where we start breaking down things like their age, their height, their weight, their occupation. This does matter sometimes. And then like their personality and miscellaneous information. Both of those have also come into play on this. After that, then we get into the feats. This is where we start looking at their greatest strength feats, their durability, their speed and or agility, their martial prowess, their ingenuity, powers, weapons, gadgets, all of that. This is where everything comes into play. We list everything they're bringing with them. After that, then we get into the data analysis. More often than not, this is usually combined with feats as we just break everything down all at once. And this is where we're going to go and really get into the numbers. For instance, how hard something hits. Maybe they both have superhuman strength. Let's analyze this. What are their greatest levels of strength? What's the greatest number of, what kind of damage have they tanked and ran through? What kind of, maybe what is their rate of regeneration like? Maybe they teleport at different rates. There's all sorts of things you can break down. For that, then we get into the character pros and cons. This is kind of where we start nailing down some of the things if it's pretty blatantly obvious. Say, for instance, somebody is just blinded by rage at all times, and then you have another guy who is, they're very, very clear thinking. Then this is going to be basically where we would start going and giving out points right off the bat. Who's going to actually be doing better in combat here and why? But this is going to be pros and cons. We have had characters where they have a very, very huge strength on something, but there's also a great weakness with that as well. This is where we start breaking these things down, different scenarios, things like that they wouldn't do well in. This is where you kind of get a little bit of a preview of how they would do against each other, but not the full thing. And then after that, we get into the guest analysis. Once again, you have to have a guest for this. But if we had a guest, this is where we'd go and see what their thoughts are. Do they still stand by their initial guess, or do they change? This is also where we would also go and get some information from you guys. What do you guys think? Who do you think wins this? Do you guys think this is going to be a good match? Do you guys think this is kind of just not a very good one? This is where you'd also just let us know and we'll have a conversation. If not, make sure to go and leave comments down below and we'll get to those as they come in. And then after that, of course, we get into the outcome. This is essentially where we break it down. Who wins and why. Now, this is live, so I don't have the answer right in front of me. There is no answer. We start talking about it. As we're talking about it, I basically start taking notes down on some things. And then we just start breaking it down. And by the outcome, I've got everything pretty much labeled out. This is where we'll go and cover who gets the point and why. And then, of course, our points can actually matter on this, or is it going to be just something where somebody completely outclasses somebody on something just... There's no chance for one of the characters at all, which that has happened. But... And, of course, after that, then we get to the preview, and you guys get to see the next episode that'll be coming up. So, all right, well, let's get into our first combatant. And this is where we're going to get into Pennywise the Clown from the Stephen King universe. It's an interesting concept here of Pennywise the Clown. Because, well, who doesn't fear clowns? I mean, there's lots of people that do, and there's some that don't. But clowns are just terrifying for a lot of people. So, this guy already starts off, I mean, for a lot of people, huge fear. Oh, and I did not put in the right one for that. Whoopsies. Let me change that. That's no good. No, I saved that under background, but alright, let's just get into that. Blah, 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 blah. There it goes. So, his real name, well, one of the names he's come to be known as is Robert Bob Gray. Age, we're really not sure. He's been on Earth for like 200 years, 200 plus years, but they speculate maybe longer. As for his actual age, we don't really know. Novelization and the movies explain two different things, but when you get novelization, this is where it's speculated it's actually older than the universe, or at least as old. He's 6'3.5", and he weighs approximately 230 pounds. As for his occupation, he's an ancient eldritch god of destruction. Keep in mind it's lowercase g. This is something it can be defeated, right? That's basically, think on the level of almost like Cthulhu-like. As for his area of operation, well, he's very strict. He likes to hang out over in Derry, Maine. Why? Because, well, every 26 to 27 years, he can go and just come out after hibernation, and he just starts feasting on the town. The town is also influenced greatly by his lower level kind of psychic kind of control and reality manipulation. As for his personality, well, he's sadistic, highly intelligent, embodies fear, and cocky. He also, when it comes into the cockiness, he loves to be feared by his opponents. So yes, he will toy with them very, very much like last week's The Creeper did. He's a little more... He plays differently. The Creeper didn't shapeshift, this guy does. So, as for some miscellaneous information, well, Pennywise's mortal enemy is actually cosmic turtle Madorin. Gigantic turtle that's larger than our universe. So, does not like him. They do not get along. As for his strength feats, well, he's got superhuman strength. That's the one big thing you want to go and note. Depends on the form he's in. That goes along with his shapeshifting, we'll explain. But he can easily tear apart human bodies. I mean, it doesn't take much. As for his durability, well, he tanks being stabbed in the head. And this is with, I believe it was a furnace poker. He tanks several strikes with a variety of different weapons from the young and adult Wizards Club. So he also includes giant rock. Well, I don't want to say giant rocks, but very large rocks. They're thrown directly at his face, and he just took it. His shapeshifting can provide both strengths and weaknesses. So, for example, if you were to do like a werewolf transformation, he would be given greater strength, speed, agility, probably durability as well, but we don't know for sure. But he does become weak to silver bullets. Silver, you could argue just silver by itself would be enough to or hurt him. As for speed and agility, same thing, but he's above athletic human male level. We know that's just when he is normal. He's very, very quick. And this is while he's in this clown form. Now, we're going to go and break this down because when it comes down to it, he has his deadlight form, which is his true form, where it's a bit different, but this is essentially an avatar. That's what crashed to Earth. His true form is actually locked away in its own pocket dimension, so we're only going to be using the Pennywise the Clown avatar, because using the true form, that's in a different pocket dimension, and we don't really see this happening. The deadlights can kind of teleport you there, kind of. But it's like it takes your soul there. It doesn't really take you there. It's really weird. As for his combat capabilities, well, we know that when he's shapeshifting, it allows Pennywise to take on skills and attributes of who or whatever it transforms into. And as for his ingenuity, transforms into the opponent's fears. For instance, the Losers Club members had different fears. And one of them was, for instance, paintings. Like the creepy paintings. One of them was afraid of lepers and like homeless people and things like that. So, I mean, he just transforms into these things. But basically how he works is the greater the fear that the opponents have. I don't know why I worded it that way. The greater fear that opponents feel, not fell. Whoopsies. The more powerful and potent Pennywise becomes, which is true. The more he's able to induce greater amounts of fear on his opponents, he becomes really, really powerful, like insanely strong. As for his power, so he comes equipped with some superhuman strength, reality warping. He's got roughly about a max of 6.21371 miles. It's like something like 10 kilometers is roughly what he can affect, which is the entirety of Derry. He's got mid to fast regeneration. This guy literally recovers sometimes a little slow, other times really, really quick. Once again, shape-shifting. He's got the ability to be invisible. Now, however, this is where this plays a little tricky here. Those that he's hunting and those that have been hunted can see Pennywise. That's why the Adult Losers Club can actually see him. That's why kids typically only see him, because, well, kids are easier to force into a fearful situation. This gets into some other things that I'm not going to bring up when it comes to comic wars and all this, but this is based on an actual phenomenon, medical phenomenon that we do know about. It comes down with the fight or flight, but it's what it does, and this is exactly why he says, "Oh, it's more tasty." It comes down to this. That's where it gets some really dark stuff, but we're not going to go down that path tonight. No rabbit holes for us. And then, of course, he's got his illusion creation, teleportation. You might be wondering, okay, well, what do you mean by teleportation? In the movies, he didn't really teleport. He did, though. He moves very, very quick normally. However, that being said, for how quick it took for him to just basically move around the entire town of Derry, he would have to be teleporting. Because there's times where he's not in an area and he's over in this area, and then all of a sudden now he's in this area. Within literal seconds. It has to be teleportation. But yet again, what is he? He's just an avatar, so. He's also got the ability of mind manipulation, spatial manipulation, biological and disease manipulation. You can actually literally look at somebody and give them diseases. That's directly what it says in the book. They listed, when I was looking up at all this, they try to say it's blood manipulation, but really it's hydrokinesis, because what is he manipulating the blood? He's manipulating matter. You can always argue matter manipulation, but really, what is he arguing? What is he really doing? He's messing with water. So it's hydrokinesis is really what he's got. You could just argue he just got telekinesis, just as a whole. He really kind of does. He's also got the ability to possess others, and this is through the use of deadlights. Weather manipulation, we've seen him go and manipulate the weather a few times. Technology manipulation, he'll go and literally turn lights on and off. He'll go and flick a TV on, things like it's very similar to Samara. Madness manipulation, he can induce madness. I mean, just, you're now insane. He's also got causality manipulation immunity. So basically somebody that can manipulate causality, so this is going to be somebody that can manipulate fate, for instance, he's immune to that. He's immune to fate in general. That's just because he's an Eldritch Being, so he operates in a different realm of, like, not physics, but things don't affect him the same. So, like, if there's something that's like, oh, it was fate that this was going to happen, precognition doesn't really work with him, is essentially how this works. That's where he's going to be immune to. Precog is not going to really affect him. so somebody's not going to be able to see him coming through that. But he's also got perception manipulation. What I mean by that is he can actually make it so he can make himself appear different to multiple people all at the same time in the same area, same vicinity. And he's also got the ability of immersion, which kind of goes hand in hand with his technology manipulation, because he can manipulate what's going on in a show. Not actually is it happening in the show, but it's, once again, it kind of comes down to the perception manipulation with the technology manipulation. If you go and combine the two, that's basically where this comes in. Now he also has some weaknesses. So he's sensitive to psychic energy. And this comes down to the Shining, essentially. It's like psychic powers, they can overcome him if, essentially, he's the darkness to their light. So if his opponent has got some kind of psychic power, they can affect him, but it's going to be more like they're courageous. Essentially, courage to his fear. You know, if they're more courageous in his fear, then he starts actually weakening. To the point where he'll reduce in size, reduces in strength, durability, everything. He can get to be very, very weak. And his transformations take on the subject weaknesses, so if something can die by a bullet, he can die by a bullet. If something can die by fire, they've got a huge weakness to that. And now he's got this weakness, so he's an interesting one with his weaknesses. So. What about his combatant? His opponent? Alex Mercer from Activision's Prototype series. His codename is Zeus. At the time of Alex Mercer's death, he was 29 years old. By the second game, he's like 2.5, 3 years, something like this. His form is about 5 foot 10 inches tall and approximately weighs 190 pounds. His occupation, he's a former head researcher at Genentech. That was when he was Alex Mercer. His area of operation is New York City, New York. Personality, he's sociopathic, paranoid, and he has a superiority complex. He used to have a huge identity crisis, but it's since evolved into more or less a superiority complex. A little tidbit about him: well, the Blacklight virus believed itself to be the real Alex Mercer, but it found out later that he was actually not Alex Mercer. As for his feats, well, he's mid-tier superhuman strength. Not just superhuman strength, he's actually got an actual limit. Like, this is where he's at. You'll see with the difference between a superhuman strength, like Pennywise, versus mid-tier superhuman strength. This is actually probably one of the strongest characters we've actually had on the show so far. He's easily broke down a 2-foot steel door, which takes approximately 83,180,000 pounds of pushing force. The way he broke it, that's what we're looking at here. It takes that much force, roughly. He easily threw a car at a helicopter, and he easily lifts and throws tanks at long range. As for durability, well, tanks being blown up by missiles, tanks being nuked. Yes, I do mean nuked as in like nuclear bomb. Not microwave. He's got an extreme heat resistance, cold resistance, disease immunity, so diseases do not affect him at all. In fact, more often than not, I would argue they'd probably boost him to some degree. Resistance to mind manipulation, so you can't really control something that's just a virus, right? Radiation resistance, extreme biological manipulation resistance, meaning it takes a great deal, a very, very extreme amount to be able to biologically manipulate him. Now that he's absorbed the cure, it's debatable whether he can be manipulated or not. And he's also got soul manipulation immunity because, well, he doesn't have a soul. As for speed and agility, he's mid-tier superhuman level. Easily outruns helicopter gunfire. Literally outruns it. Easily reacts to M1 Abrams tank shells being fired at him. And this does mean blocking. It's pretty crazy. As for his combat capabilities, well, he's a skilled martial artist. And this is also due to absorbing opponents' memories and DNA. So when he absorbs their memories, they become his. He incorporates what he wants, though. But his ingenuity, well, he's a highly intelligent scientist. Well, he was, and that was based on his previous conscience. So he basically started off at basically a high intelligence amount, but since then he's absorbed several scientists and has actually gained even more intelligence. Excuse me. As for his powers, this guy's got a lot of powers. Mid-tier superhuman levels. Strength, durability, everything. He's just mid-tier. He's got enhanced senses. This includes just regular 6 senses. But he also comes equipped with some thermal vision. He's got the capability to also see the virus where it's at as well. As it like creeps up on the buildings and things like this. Or if there's other creatures around. He's also got mid to fast regeneration. His shape shifting is different because he just retains the same everything as he did before. He's not like Pennywise, where he can take on strengths and weaknesses. He doesn't do that. So he just stays the same. He's also got power mimicry and absorption. Yes, he can literally kill something and or defeat it and then eat it, more or less, but he absorbs it and he now gains their powers. He's also got biological and disease manipulation capabilities. So yes, he can just be like, alright, need a new virus? Done deal. Here's a new virus, now it's immune to all this, bam. And now he's got all those capabilities as well. Adaptation, so yes, he adapts to his situation, so he literally evolves on the go. He's also got reactive evolution, meaning same thing basically, that that you can beat him this one way this one time, it won't ever work again. You hurt him this one way this one time, it won't work again. He's also got the capability of flight, matter manipulation. He's got sonar and radar immunity, mind manipulation capabilities, gravity manipulation through the vortex, like some kind of a vortex technique he's got. But it actually literally manipulates gravity. It's crazy. He's got telepathy. He's got black light creature summoning. Yes, he can just straight up just create creatures. He's got limited precognition. He's got power of a stole, which basically what this does, there's another black light creature, you can actually upgrade them essentially. That's how that works. He's also got madness manipulation, so this only affects those infected by the black light and red light viruses. So if the character doesn't have it, they're totally immune to the madness manipulation. He's got limited vulnerability, so if there's enough biomass that's like ripped away from him, his adrenaline kicks in, and essentially he has limited vulnerability just for a very, very short time. And if this will load up. Alright, and he's also got vibration manipulation, energy manipulation. He can create tendrils, spikes. He's got biomass explosive devastator. Essentially, this is where he hits the ground hard enough. Everybody within a certain distance flies up in the air. And then he blows up. Essentially, he doesn't blow up, but like releases a massive amount of energy that's equivalent to that of like a hand grenade. And then he's also got laser vision. And yes, I do mean laser vision as in like Martian Manhunter and Superman. But he is, when it comes down to his tier, we don't really know exactly how hot his laser vision is. As for some weaknesses, well, electricity. That'll lock him in place. So he can't do anything. Literally cannot do anything when he's locked in place. He absolutely has to have biomass constantly coming in. This is how he regenerates. This is how he keeps his powers up. But yeah, I mean, once again, he has to have more biomass coming in. But due to the biomass kind of issue here, he can't swim because it's so dense. Alright. So, what'd you guys think of these two combatants so far? Pretty interesting characters, right? Well, we've already gone over data analysis, so we're just going to skip down to the pros and cons. Oh, we got the preview early. Wow. Well, you break this down, it breaks down simply this way. Pennywise and Alex Mercer have the same powers, essentially. Not to a T. Alex Mercer's got a lot more going on for him. Pennywise's avatar form has got limited. This is an avatar form, not his true form. His true form even has less than Alex. Alex has got a ridiculous amount of powers, but he does it better. Well, when you go into background and things like this comes down to the same thing. One plays with their food while one does How do we see this go last time? It's going to go the same route. Alex Mercer, yeah, he's shorter by only a few inches, and he weighs only a little bit less. Is height and weight really going to play too big of a difference? Not really, because they both can shapeshift, so their sizes can adjust. Could Alex Mercer just make himself taller and all this? Yeah, absolutely. So that's not going to matter here, but their personalities will. Okay, so when it comes down to it, end of the day, Alex Mercer is going to be a little more superior because he's a lot more calculated, and he doesn't play. And that's going to be a huge weakness for Pennywise in a lot of ways. But this isn't like the Predator versus the Creeper type match. This is going to be... Still, it's a weakness to Pennywise, but Pennywise has actually got a lot more experience. And, debatably at least. And he's also... He's an interesting Predator, when it comes down to it. He's not like the Creeper who's... When he plays with his food, he's a lot different. So... As for strength, this is just a given. It doesn't make a difference what... Well, I take that back, actually. I actually have to take this back. Pennywise is actually going to be up there with Alex Mercer, and this is for one reason. Alex Mercer, Pennywise would notice somewhat decently, at a decent pace, that Alex Mercer is going to outclass him on strength. So what does he have to do? Turn to Alex Mercer. Takes all his strengths and weaknesses. But see, Alex Mercer is also his own weakness. And Pennywise wouldn't know what to do with that. Pennywise is not nearly as intelligent. So Alex Mercer would, technically speaking, this is where you have to kind of come down to ingenuity at the same time. Strength, they're going to be roughly at a draw. However, due to ingenuity included in this, we're going to have to go and look at both these at the same time. Ingenuity, that's going to easily be fucking... it's going to be, what's his face? Pennywise is going to lose this. He's going to lose this pretty freaking quick. And the reason being is because, like I said before, Pennywise he can literally manipulate his body and contort it and become Alex. But he's going to have those same weaknesses. Alex knows his own weakness. And he's a hive mind. Pennywise cannot become part of the hive mind. And plus, on top of it, because he's adjusted himself to become Alex Mercer, what happens? Takes on those same properties. Alex Mercer can control Pennywise. Pennywise is now... He would have no idea what he's doing right off the bat. Even with all this, he doesn't get the memories. He gets the same consistency, same everything. So he's going to be the same, but he's going to have Pennywise's memories. Is he going to be able to outclass Alex Mercer at that point? No. So yeah, you can argue draw, and we'll put it down for draw because really, and there's other things that Pennywise could turn into, but it comes down to, if you look at what he does this for, it's going to be turning into fear. Pennywise is going to get his butt whooped pretty quick, early on. He's going to be forced to transform. And this is going to be because he's scared. Because Alex Mercer is top lane. He transforms into Alex Mercer. Now it becomes a little closer, but because Alex Mercer just got more experience dealing with guys like himself, this is not going to go well for Pennywise. Because even being consumed, the avatar itself would now be consumed and become part of Alex Mercer at that point. So you see what I'm saying? This is where the strength is really going to not matter. And so really how this will break down, two different ways. Either they're going to be at a stalemate on their strength, Alex Mercer will just straight up outclass him. It just depends on the scenario here. Durability. They got insane durability. However, excuse me, Alex Mercer literally can come back from a molecule next to nothing, Pennywise loses his avatar, he just goes back to, basically he can still, he's got his true form. It's still available, but he's in a pocket dimension, so avatar versus him, durability is going to go pretty handedly to Alex Mercer. Speed and agility, yet again, we have a teleporter versus somebody who's actually moving at an actual pace. When it comes down to speed, you got to give it to Pennywise. but that's speed. And that's only because of teleportation. However, you go down to agility, he gets completely outclassed. I mean, it's actually a huge outclassing. Alex Mercer topples him. When it comes to martial prowess, same thing. Yeah, Pennywise, this could be a draw. It's the same as his strength. But end of the day, it could either go to Alex Mercer or it's going to go to it's going to be a draw. Ingenuity is going to easily go under Alex Mercer's favor, and when it comes to powers, Pennywise honestly doesn't have. I mean, he's going to have to reality warp and things like this. His powers are going to be a little more feasible, but he's at limited range, and Alex Mercer can be outside that range and hit him still. You see what I'm saying? So even if you warp reality, I mean, this gets tricky because the powers themselves are pretty evenly matched. They're shape-shifting and all this. Those capabilities are equal for the most part. You can even argue Pennywise's are actually a little more potent because anything he can transform into, he gains their strengths and weaknesses. But at that same time, the reality warping isn't going to be enough to stop Alex Mercer. No. Alex Mercer will just go and start destroying everything. And he'll constantly do it. How do we know this? Because we see him do it in the games all the time. So really, end of the day, powers, it's going to go to Alex Mercer. Not by much, though. Well, this is a quick one, and I'll explain why this is so quick. All really that Pennywise can bring to the table, he brings 2 points in, while Alex Mercer brings in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let's see. 10, 11. He brings in 11 points. I think that's right. 5, 8, 10, 11. Yeah, 11 points. He outclasses it. Blows him away. And it's all because it doesn't really make a difference in the scenarios. You throw certain scenarios at Alex, does it actually give an edge to Pennywise? A slight, but it's not enough to actually call a win. There's not going to be pretty much any single scenario where you pit the avatar of Pennywise against Alex and he wins. It's the deadlights, would they affect him? He's a virus. He doesn't have a soul, which is what that operates as, soul manipulation. So he's immune to that. He would laugh in the face of the deadlights. Okay, so really Pennywise would be having to rely on getting Alex in basically electrocuted